In a galaxy far, far away, where shadows meet starlight, we unfold the story of a Sith apprentice whose entire journey is woven with mystery and intrigue. Join us as we dive into the life of Darth Maul, exploring the layers of a character shaped by the dark side. Settle in for a tale that reveals the full scope of his destiny. In 54 BBY, a child was born on the dark world of Dathomir. His origins mysterious, his fate already beginning to stir. The son of Mother Talzin and a Dathomirian Zabrak male, making him a night brother. He had two blood brothers, Pharaoh and Savage Repress. Later known only as Darth Maul or Maul, he once claimed he had a real name, but that memory has long faded away. Before his first birthday, Mother Talzin marked her infant son with the traditional Zabrak tattoos. Even in those early years, Maul wrestled with a powerful, simmering anger. He was raised in the deep caves of Dathomir, where he lived close to the edge of survival and close to the dark whispers of the Force. Legends say Maul and one of his brothers were raised in a small home in the Night Brother village, with Talzin often away serving the Night Sisters. Young Maul took on the responsibility of protecting his younger, more fragile sibling. Even then, he felt an unexplainable bond with the wild forest surrounding their home, one of the first signs of his deep Force sensitivity. As he grew, so too did the dark threads of fate. Mother Talzin entered into a powerful alliance with the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. They exchanged secrets of Sith knowledge and Night Sister magics. Whenever Sidious visited, Maul would hide away in fear, disturbed by the presence of the dark stranger and wary of his growing bond with Talzin. Maul's inner fire, his ever-growing struggle with rage, had not gone unnoticed. Around 40 BBY, the dark figure known as Darth Sidious turned his attention to the boy on Dathomir. According to Mother Talzin, Sidious betrayed her, taking Maul as his own apprentice. But the truth, wrapped in whispered legend, was far, far more haunting. Sidious had come to Talzin with promises of power, but demanded something in return: her son. Though she resisted, the Sith Lord threatened to revoke his offer. Maul, listening from behind the door, heard every word. Furious, he fled into the forest that night. But when he returned the next morning, a Night Brother dragged him away without a chance to say goodbye. He was cast into a pit like an animal. What followed was a torment designed by Sidious. Maul lived under the care of a cruel keeper and his two sons, brutes who beat him to the ground and left him to starve on scraps. The pain twisted something inside Maul. His love for his mother decayed into bitterness. He began to channel his anger, feeding the dark side like it was the only light left. Over time, the beating stopped, not because of mercy, but because Maul no longer reacted. His torments grew afraid. Whispers began to circulate. Someone was coming to select a warrior apprentice. When the day arrived, Maul's keeper tried to keep him locked away. But Maul shattered the door using raw dark side power and stormed into the selection arena. There, waiting, stood Sidious. In a flash of fury, Maul used the Force to choke the two sons who had tormented him. Then, their father. Sidious, watching, was elated. He named Maul his apprentice on the spot. Mother Talzin could only watch in silence, her fury brewing. Her son had been stolen, and she vowed revenge. Maul's new life was anything but merciful. Under Darth Sidious' brutal instruction, he became a weapon, not a person. He trained relentlessly as a Sith apprentice, assassin, and warrior, taught to fight without pause, to think without mercy. His acrobatic style became a signature, and he learned to master the dual-bladed lightsaber, a terrifying instrument that he constructed himself from scavenged parts. The design came from ancient Sith plans, hidden by Sidious in forgotten archives. Pain had been poured into the hilt of that saber. Blood, too. Most of it, Maul would later note, wasn't his own. He honed his skills through relentless lightsaber drills against marksman-each remotes, and through brutal martial arts taught by droid combatants. Sidious even brought him to Malachor, the site of a long-dead war between Jedi and Sith. There, Maul was made to inhale the ashes of fallen Sith, his lungs filled with death as visions of Jedi slaughter burned in his mind. The pain only deepened Maul's hatred. He didn't just want to defeat the Jedi. He wanted vengeance, not just for the Sith, but for himself. As a child, no Jedi had come for him. Were they unaware of his power? Or did they find him unworthy? He did not know. But their absence carved a void in his heart, one he filled with seething rage. Maul was growing tired of waiting. Sidious urged for patience, but Maul yearned to strike, to show the galaxy, especially the Jedi, the cost of forgetting him. And he was nearly ready. Years into his apprenticeship, Darth Maul's thirst for vengeance only grew. His mind burned with restless anticipation. He was no longer content to wait in the shadows. The Jedi were out there, and Maul longed to face them. To satisfy his growing bloodlust, Maul began hunting. On Coruscant, he stalked Jedi like a predator, silently following Kat Keen and her Padawan, Baird and Jace, studying their every move. But it wasn't enough. He journeyed to Tuan Kedi, a murky swamp world, to hunt Wraithors, massive, vicious predators. Watching from the trees, he hired big game hunters to flesh the beasts out. When one charged, Maul leapt forward and speared it. But there was a second attack from behind. Pack hunters. He fought without his lightsaber to avoid revealing his Sith identity, cutting the creature apart with nothing but his hands in a branch. Maul admired the Wraithars, their savagery, their freedom. Unlike them, he had a master. Sidious warned him again. Patience. The Sith plan was not yet ready. If Maul risked exposure again, he would face death. It was a chilling reminder that even in his strength, he was still chained. To distract him, Sidious sent Maul to the Kellic system to eliminate pirates threatening the Trade Federation. Maul swiftly executed them, but one survivor, mistaking him for a Jedi, begged for mercy. He revealed that a Jedi Padawan was being sold at auction by the Rexist cartel, and that was all Maul needed to hear. He hired deadly allies, Cad Bane, Aurra Sing, and 2 others. Together they traveled to Nar Shaddaa to find the auction's location. A bar brawl erupted. Maul was momentarily blinded by a gangster named Dirty Kelgrace, who he promptly killed. The bounty hunters revealed they had already acquired an invitation by killing the Hadrix gang and stealing their ship in Protocol Droid. Maul tortured the droid unit until it revealed the coordinates. They traveled to a space station in the Drazkel system, where the auction would take place. The Padawan Eldricatus, a Twi'lek, had survived a pirate attack and was now a prize for the highest bidder. While sneaking into the station, Maul found her cell but was confronted by Rexus. He posed as Cirrus Madrith, a member of the Hadrix Consortium. Later, with the bounty hunters, he devised a plan. At the auction, Maul let a Mugen named G. Kra win the bid. Once Kra returned to his ship, Maul struck, killing him and his crew. He confirmed to Caedus that he was a Sith. But before they could flee, their ship exploded. Rexus had planted a bomb. They crash-landed on the Draskel moon. Surrounded by mercenaries, Maul handed Caedus her lightsaber. Together they fought side by side. When the last hunter fell, only the two Force wielders remained. They clashed, ferocious and focused. Caedus briefly buried Maul in a landslide. As she closed in to finish him, he rose and struck her down. He destroyed FEB-3 to erase any evidence, then left with the surviving bounty hunters. They dropped him off at Rexus's hideout. There, Maul ended her life without mercy, eliminating all threats to Sith secrecy. Then he returned to Coruscant. Sidious was waiting. The Jedi Padawan was dead. Maul's craving for Jedi blood was still burning. Masquerading under a false identity, Maul forged a fake cartel in the name of Eldra Caedus. During this deception, he worked alongside a Force-sensitive named Zek Piro to intercept shipments of Skarn, a potent compound used to produce spice. Together they fought their way through smuggling operations and seized the Skarn. But Maul had no intention of sharing credit or power. When the job was complete, he killed Piro with a shard of metal, cold, efficient, and unflinching. Returning to Sidious, Maul received no praise. Instead, his master chastised him for his recklessness, comparing him to the foolishness of Piro. The rebuke only deepened Maul's craving to prove himself. Together, master and apprentice returned to Malachor. There, amidst the cursed ashes of fallen Sith, Maul again inhaled darkness. The visions returned, more vivid and disturbing than ever. In his dream, he was a Jedi. Celebrated for saving a fellow Zabrak, he was honored at a feast, welcomed by smiling faces, but the admiration only sickened him. It was all a lie, a facade. His fury erupted, and in a flash, he slaughtered them all. When he awoke, he received the praise that he desired from Sidious. And now, Maul understood. Rage alone was not enough. He would need discipline. He would need strategy. And soon, he would have his chance. By 33 BBY, Darth Sidious's grand design was nearing its opening move. When the pirate Zilastra schemed a strike at the Jedi Council, Maul traveled to the planet Quen. Posing as Senator Palpatine, Sidious contracted the Jedi outpost while Maul silently infiltrated the area. Once the call ended, Maul revealed himself. Lifting the Jedi Seneschal Vo into the air with a force announcing that the Sith had returned. The Jedi didn't yet grasp the storm that was coming. Sidious, still hidden behind the mask of a senator, manipulated the Trade Federation into blockading Naboo, beginning a chain of events that would test both the Republic and the Jedi Order. Queen Amidala was vital to his plan. She needed to sign a treaty that would legitimize the Federation invasion. When Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi rescued the Queen and fled to Naboo, Sidious dispatched Maul to retrieve her. Tracking a distress signal sent to Queen Amidala, Maul followed her to the desert world of Tatooine. Landing in silence, he deployed Sith probe droids and swiftly discovered her location. As her ship prepared for departure, Maul gave chase, racing across the dunes on his sleek blood-finned speeder. There, waiting to intercept him, stood Qui-Gon Jinn and a young boy, Anakin Skywalker. Maul ignited his lightsaber and the duel erupted. Jinn fought to protect the boy, but Maul was relentless, his movements a blur of fury and discipline. He nearly overwhelmed the Jedi, striking with precision and power. But at the last second, Amidala's ship lifted off, and Jinn leapt abroad, escaping once again. Maul stood alone in the desert, his mission incomplete, but something greater had been set in motion. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Sith had revealed themselves to the Jedi. And though his quarry escaped, Maul was far from defeated. He embraced his rage, his hatred, and the darkness. The hunt would continue, and so would his war. The Jedi and Queen Amidala escaped to Coruscant, where Sidious, disguised as Senator Palpatine, manipulated events with surgical precision. Amidala called for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum, setting the stage for Palpatine's rise. Meanwhile, Darth Maul returned to Naboo, ready to spring the final trap. As Queen Amidala and the Jedi returned to reclaim the capital, Maul prepared for the battleground. Ignoring the Nemoidians' pleasantries, he scouted the palace power generator complex. Catwalks, laser walls, reactor shafts, a fitting stage for a deadly duel. He practiced, rehearsed, visualized victory, and then the Jedi came. Maul emerged in the hangar, igniting his double-bladed lightsaber. The battle raged through corridors and generators. He led Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi deeper into his chosen ground, using the terrain to separate them. A series of laser walls trapped Kenobi behind, leaving Jinn to face Maul alone. And Maul struck. The Jedi Master fell, pierced through the torso. Kenobi arrived too late, filled with fury and heartbreak. Their duel was furious. Kenobi fought with reckless desperation, and though he damaged Maul's lightsaber, Kenobi was disarmed, left hanging by a thread above a reactor shaft. But the young Jedi found calm in the storm. Calling Jinn's fallen weapon into his grasp, Obi-Wan launched himself upward and cut Maul in two. The Sith apprentice fell into the abyss. That day, Palpatine became Supreme Chancellor. The galaxy believed Maul was dead. The Jedi believed the Sith threat had ended. Count Dooku was chosen as Sidious's new apprentice. But Maul was not dead. Hatred clung to Maul like armor. Severed in half, his body tumbled down the shaft, finally discarded into a trash container. From there, he was dumped onto the junkyard world of Lotho Minor. But Maul's Dathomirian blood, Night Sister magics, and the sheer will of the Sith kept him alive. With discarded scrap, he built himself a new body, an 8-legged spidery monstrosity. His mind unraveled, driven by madness, starvation, and rage. He was no longer the poised assassin of Sidious, but a beast feeding on memory and vengeance. Years passed, strangers arrived, and among them, Gritz, Ricky, Brenner, and Celis, sent by Captain Spikewheel to survive a night on Lotho Minor. They fell into Maul's twisted labyrinth. Maul stalked them. He captured Celis, hurled him like a doll, and chased the rest with primal fury. But he was caught in an electronet. As they tried to return him to the surface, Gritz and Spikewheel revealed they had been hired to capture Maul. By Maul himself, he had orchestrated his own rescue. Maul broke free, destroyed Spikewheel, hijacked the ship, and killed Gritz. He was free. Maul remained on Lotho Minor for a time, surviving with the help of a cunning anacondan named Morley. The creature brought Maul food and in return ate his scraps. Madness twisted Maul's thoughts, but his hatred never dimmed. Obi-Wan Kenobi. The name was etched in every breath Maul took. His mind broken and haunted, clung to the one purpose: revenge. Meanwhile, the galaxy spun forward. The Clone Wars erupted, Jedi clashed with Separatists. Then a new darkness arose. At the Jedi Temple, a young Anakin Skywalker programmed a training droid in Maul's image, a grim echo of the terror once faced. Unbeknownst to them all, the Sith they believed dead was still alive, waiting, burning. But soon, the galaxy would learn that Maul's story was far from over. But Maul was not forgotten by everyone. Mother Talzin, sensing her son's survival, sent his brother, Savage Opress, on a mission with a talesman in hand. Savage journeyed to Dathomir, where he discovered a wretched, half-mad Maul. The former Sith no longer remembered who he was. He trembled, muttered, wept, and laughed. His identity was fractured, but one flame still burned: revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi. Savage had believed the Indicondent. Morley had broken his brother's mind and killed the creature. To restore Maul, he took him back to Dathomir. There, Mother Talzin worked her dark magic, using parts from fallen Separatist droids and ancient incantations. She built Maul's body and mind. His legs returned, his thoughts sharpened. Maul had risen again. Restored and fueled by vengeance, Maul began his quest by drawing Kenobi to Rhydonia through bloodshed. He slaughtered innocents until the Jedi responded. When Kenobi arrived, Maul and Savage captured him, but the Jedi was saved by Asajj Ventress, a former dark-side warrior. Maul taunted Kenobi about Qui-Gon Jinn's death, provoking his rage. The duel was brutal, but Ventress and Kenobi escaped. But Maul wasn't angry. Now Kenobi would hunt him, just as he desired. The brothers cut a path across the galaxy, beginning with the Sideblock's transfer station. Maul tested his brother's strength in combat, and from this moment called himself Opress's master. Together they stole wealth, recruited pirates, and left bodies in their wake. On Florum, they lured Jedi Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Adi Gallia. Gallia was killed. Kenobi fought alone, retreating only after Savage Opress lost an arm, and Maul caused a cave-in. Though they escaped, Maul's leg was damaged. Their pirate allies had turned on them. Their ship was destroyed in the crash. But once again, the brothers survived. Adrift in space and nearly dead, Maul and Opress were rescued by Death Watch, Mandalorian warriors exiled from Mandalore. Their leader, Pre Vizsla, spared them, believing the Sith were enemies of his enemies. On Zanbar, Maul was repaired and fitted with new legs. Vizsla interrogated him. Maul explained they served no one. They were true lords of the Sith. Their goal was vengeance against the Jedi and against Kenobi. Pre Vizsla listened and an alliance was formed. Maul and Vizsla set out to build a criminal empire. First, they traveled to Mustafar to confront the Black Sun Syndicate. The ruling council refused Maul's offer, so Savage executed them all. Their new leader, Zidon Maj, pledged allegiance. Next, the Pikes of Obadiah joined, then the Hutts. When they resisted, Maul slaughtered their enforcers and marched on Jabba's palace. But overwhelmed, Jabba submitted, and there the Shadow Collective was born. Now Maul's empire stretched across the underworld. Crime families, warriors, spice stealers, all united under his dark will. In one last strike of cunning, Maul infiltrated and overthrew the Moribus crime family by allowing himself to be captured and unleashing his forces from within. the galaxy's criminal core began to bend to his power. But this was only the beginning. With his new Shadow Collective and the backing of Death Watch, Maul set his sights on Mandalore itself. His plan was surgical: unleash his criminal syndicates on the capital, Sundari, then let Death Watch swoop in as saviors. The people would see Duchess Satine as weak and Pre-Vizsla as their protector. But Maul had already foreseen betrayal and welcomed it. When Vizsla and Bo-Katan imprisoned him in Savage, Maul found opportunity. Escaping confinement, he sought out a pawn, former Prime Minister Almec, jailed for corruption. Maul offered him his restoration in exchange for loyalty. With the throne room seized, Maul challenged Vizsla to single combat. The duel was brutal, elegant, and fateful. Maul defeated and beheaded Vizsla, claiming the Darksaber and leadership of Mandalore. Half of Death Watch bent the knee. The others, led by Bo-Katan, refused. But Maul was now their true leader. The real power on Mandalore. Almec his puppet, the throne his to command. Shortly after the coup, Maul lured Obi-Wan Kenobi to Mandalore by using Satine Kryze, the Duchess, and Kenobi's once beloved as bait. Knowing the Republic could not officially intervene, Maul anticipated that Kenobi would come alone, and he was right. Kenobi freed Satine, but they were captured again after a fierce skirmish. In the palace throne room, Maul taunted Kenobi, speaking of his past, of the pain the Jedi inflicted, of his own transformation. When Kenobi refused to give in to hate, Maul struck. He drove the Darksaber through Satine's chest, killing her in front of the man who once loved her. Kenobi was thrown into prison, but Bo-Katan, now leading a resistance, freed him. Civil war engulfed Mandalore. Then came a storm from the past. Darth Sidious had arrived on Mandalore. Sidious had watched Maul's rise with amusement until it became a threat. Now he descended upon Mandalore himself. When Maul sensed his former master's presence, he did not hide. He welcomed it, hoping to earn his place at Sidious's side once more. But Sidious saw through him. The duel that followed was cataclysmic. Maul and Oppress fought as one. But Sidious was too powerful. He separated the brothers, then struck down Savage Oppress with fatal precision. Maul held his brother in his arms. As the life left him, Savage's final words were of failure and of regret. Enraged, Maul unleashed all he had. But Sidious toyed with him. With overwhelming skill, he disarmed Maul, crushed him against walls, and pummeled him into the floor. When Maul begged for mercy, Sidious only laughed. There was no mercy among the Sith. But he did not kill him. Sidious had other plans for Maul. After his brutal defeat and imprisonment, Maul eventually escaped and returned to Mandalore with the remnants of his loyal forces. Though hiding in the shadows, he quietly rebuilt what remained of the Shadow Collective. The Pikes and the Black Sun rejoined him. In secret, Maul also formed ties with a new power, Crimson Dawn, under the leadership of Dryden Voss. His influence spread quickly, tightening around the underworld once again. Yet Maul had seen the future. He knew that Darth Sidious would soon claim a new apprentice, Anakin Skywalker. Maul's visions haunted him. He knew he had to act quickly and decisively. So he devised a trap. If he could draw both Skywalker and Kenobi to Mandalore, he could alter destiny itself by destroying the Chosen One before Sidious could claim him. But it was not Skywalker who came. Bo-Katan Kryze returned to Mandalore with a legion of loyal Mandalorians and clone troopers led by Commander Rex, and the former Jedi Padawan named Ahsoka Tano. Disappointed but undeterred, Maul prepared his forces. In the younger city of Sundari, Maul set a trap, believing Kenobi had come. His forces ambushed the clones and slaughtered them, including Captain Vaughn. But when Maul emerged from the darkness, he saw not Kenobi, but Ahsoka. He was unimpressed. Maul revealed his vision to her, that the Republic would fall, that Sidious would rise, and that Skywalker would become the key to everything. He offered Ahsoka a place at his side, a chance to stop it, and she almost accepted it. But when she asked Maul what he wanted with Skywalker, his answer turned her cold. He wanted to kill him, to end the threat before Sidious could mold it, and Ahsoka refused to believe that Anakin could ever fall. The alliance then crumbled, and the duel began. Ahsoka fought with precision and speed, Maul with fury and finesse. He disarmed her, but was caught off guard when she kicked him through a glass window. The battle surged through the palace as the siege of Mandalore raged outside. Earlier, Maul had tried to ensure secrecy, interrogating ARC Trooper Jesse and ordering the assassination of Almec to prevent leaks. He also warned the Shadow Collective to go into hiding and thanked his Mandalorian warriors for their loyalty as he abandoned them. He promised them the galaxy would soon be reborn, and they would be at the center of his new power. But that dream began to crumble as the duel turned. Ahsoka fought not just with skill, but with conviction. Maul, growing desperate, began to unravel. His plan to change fate, to rob Sidious of his future, was slipping, and the final confrontation was at hand. Ahsoka chased Maul to the rooftop of the crumbling city. Gar Saxon called out for reinforcements, but Maul, ever focused on himself, left his Mandalorian ally behind. Saxon and his men soon surrendered. Maul reached the landing pad just as his ship arrived, but Ahsoka caught him, and their duel resumed. Maul disarmed her and slashed through the beam she stood on, cornering her high above the city. He offered her one last plea to join him, but she refused. They fought again. Ahsoka caught him off guard, disarmed him, and sent him tumbling over the edge. But instead of letting him fall, she caught him with the Force. Maul screamed for her to let him die, but she didn't. Soon 3 gunships arrived, and clone troopers stunned him into silence. The war was ending, but a darker fate had already begun. Maul, locked inside a Mandalorian vault aboard the Tribunal, the Republic Star Destroyer. Ahsoka was ordered to deliver him to Coruscant for trial. But before they arrived, Darth Sidious enacted Order 66, and Maul felt it. As clones turned on Ahsoka, a pair approached his cell with orders to execute him. But Ahsoka saved him briefly, and she demanded answers. Maul laughed, marveling at Sidious's brilliance. Though denied a lightsaber, Maul tore the ship apart with the Force. Panels ripped from walls, clones were hurled and slaughtered. Maul ripped a comm link from a dying soldier's wrist and listened to the chaos. Then he destroyed the hyperdrive. The Tribunal was ripped from hyperspace and began plummeting toward a moon. Amid the chaos, Maul seized his shuttle. Ahsoka tried to stop him, but he hurled her away and escaped, leaving the doomed ship behind. The Jedi were falling. The Republic was dead. But Maul was free. Anakin Skywalker had fallen, just as Maul had foreseen. He had become Darth Vader, apprentice to Darth Sidious. And the Empire was born. The Jedi were hunted, the galaxy burned. Maul, once a discarded pawn, was now a threat once more. The Inquisitorius tried to find him, but they failed. They whispered his name with fear. The Shadow. Pieces of his old ship, the Scimitar, were used to construct the Grin Inquisitor's personal starfighter. Even Maul's new lightsaber carried the bones of fallen foes. perhaps from the very Inquisitors who had hunted him. Renegade Padawan Farron Barr studied Maul's legacy, trying to understand how the Jedi fell, but he too perished, struck down by Vader. And through it all, Maul vanished, but he was not gone. Somewhere in the shadows he plotted, not for power, not for conquest, but for revenge. After escaping during the Jedi Purge, Maul returned to Dathomir, where he became the hidden leader of Crimson Dawn, using Dryden Voss as his frontman. While the Shadow Collective had collapsed, Maul still held sway over 5 crime syndicates, preventing them from infighting, largely through fear and violence. Some, like Black Sun's Elorium, resented this rule, but the riches Maul funneled into the coffers kept most quiet. When Elorium attempted a coup, Maul crushed it. He searched for an ancient Sith holocron while traveling in disguise, concealing his identity beneath a hood and swapping out his signature lightsaber for one that appeared to be a simple staff. After Voss's death in 10 BBY, his subordinate Kira reported to Maul. She claimed Voss was betrayed and killed by Tobias Beckett, who had also stolen the shipment of coaxium. Furious, Maul summoned her to Dathomir, activated his new blade, and told her they would work more closely from then on. Elevating her to Voss's former position, he taught her everything about the Sith, revealing the Rule of Two, and exposing Palpatine as Darth Sidious, and Vader as his apprentice. Maul's new plan was bold. Use Crimson Dawn to destroy the Sith from within. He even trained Kira in combat to prepare her for the fight ahead. Their hope rested in a secret weapon, the Fermata Cage, a relic said to contain a Sith Lord frozen in time. Maul planned to unleash this ancient force against Sidious and Vader, but he failed. Haunted by his losses and thirst for vengeance, Maul continued his descent into the dark. Between 19 BBY and 5 BBY, he arrived at a Sith castle on the ash-choked world of Damenos. Within, the shadows came alive with cruel illusions. First, he encountered a vision of Savage Opress, his brother, who rejected Maul as neither sibling nor master. They dueled, the Spectre mocking Maul's powerlessness. Realizing the illusion, Maul ran him through, but the corpse turned into Maul's own. Opress's voice whispered that Maul had failed him. Deeper into the castle, Maul met another phantom, General Grievous. The sideboard dropped from the ceiling, blade spinning. Maul recalled how Grievous had killed his mother Talzin, and that Kenobi, not him, had taken vengeance. Consumed by rage, Maul attacked. He severed Grievous's limbs, but he only laughed. These weren't fights, they were torments. He impaled the fake Grievous, but the pain remained. Rage screamed out of him, empty and unending. At the heart of the Sith temple, Maul sensed a dark power calling to him. But beyond the final door stood not a Sith, but Qui-Gon Jinn. Maul expected a final duel, but Jinn offered him only peace. He wasn't there to recruit him to the Jedi, rather, he offered him a chance to walk away from his pain and hatred. What awaited Maul after his vengeance was complete? Nothing. Qui-Gon Jinn explained that hurting others would not heal his wounds. Maul lashed out, striking the vision down. But Qui-Gon Jinn was already gone. So too was the power that had drawn him to the castle in the first place. Maul stood in silence. No answers, no peace. Just the cold realization that all he had left was to hunt. He returned to his ship and considered firing on the temple, but didn't. Instead, he plotted his next move, determined to continue his pursuit of ancient, secret, and Sith relics. The darkness was all he had left. Maul's search for a Sith holocron eventually brought him to the ancient and forsaken world of Malachor. Trapped there for years after crashing his ship, Maul found himself imprisoned by the very darkness he once sought to command. But around 3 BBY, fate intervened in the form of Ezra Bridger, a Jedi apprentice who stumbled upon the same Sith temple. Maul, now posing as a frail hermit, calling himself the Old Master, quickly manipulated Ezra, playing on their shared hatred for the Sith. Claiming to be an ally, Maul offered his guidance in unlocking the secrets of the temple. Together they navigated a series of trials and retrieved the holocron. Maul encouraged Ezra to channel his anger, subtly nurturing his path to the dark side. When they reached the others, Kanan Jarrus, the Ahsoka Tano, and 3 Imperial Inquisitors, Maul helped them defeat the enemy, but his true motives remained hidden. Despite skepticism, Ezra convinced the group to work with Maul to ascend the temple. Maul's manipulation deepened. He demonstrated ruthless efficiency, killing the 7th sister himself after Ezra hesitated. He chastised the young Jedi for his mercy, warning it could cost him dearly. Then, sensing Darth Vader's imminent arrival, Maul concealed his fear and turned his attention to eliminating the remaining Inquisitors. With Tano's help, Maul dispatched the 5th brother. The 8th brother attempted to flee but fell to his death after his lightsaber failed. With the Inquisitors gone, Maul struck. He blinded Kanan Jarrus and turned on Ahsoka, revealing his goal: to activate the temple's superweapon and take Ezra as his new apprentice. His plans, however, unraveled. Kanan, despite his injury, used the Force to fight back, surprising Maul. He disarmed him and sent him plummeting from the temple. Though defeated, Maul survived and fled Malachor, aboard an Inquisitor's stolen TIE fighter. Though the temple was destroyed, Maul's interest in Ezra only deepened. His influence had taken root. By 2 BBY, Maul had re-emerged, determined to track down Ezra and bend him to his will. He boarded a rebel corvette, interrogating the crew until he discovered Ezra's home, the Ghost. He then captured the crew, Hera Syndulla, Sabine Wren, and others, using them as leverage. In exchange for their lives, he demanded both the Sith and Jedi holocrons. As the Jedi retrieved the Sith holocron from Atollon, Maul explored the Ghost, mocking its inhabitants and probing Syndulla's mind to uncover Kanan's secrets. While trying to open the Jedi holocron, the crew escaped and launched a trap, activating magnetic restraints to disable Maul's cybernetic legs. Though momentarily pinned, Maul countered quickly, deactivating the system and subduing the crew once more. At a Mandalorian outpost, Maul staged a reunion. He met Kanan and Ezra in the hangar, splitting them apart, Ezra to the control room and Kanan to what would become an airlock. Deceiving him, Maul ejected Kanan into space and assumed he was dead. Alone with Ezra, Maul began the ritual of merging the holocrons. While Ezra sought the key to defeating the Sith, Maul desired clarity, a name, a location, something long buried. There, as the holocrons aligned, Ezra glimpsed countless visions before uttering 2 words that froze Maul: twin sons. Kanan, having survived, burst into the room with the Ghost crew. The force of the holocron's combined power blinded them, though Maul had already fled. Outside, as he returned to his ship, a singular phrase echoed on his lips: "He lives." For Maul, it was no longer about holocrons or apprentices. It was about the man who had taken everything from him, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The holocron ritual had bound Maul and Ezra together, not just through knowledge, but through the Force itself. Now mentally linked, Maul discovered the rebels' location on Atollon. He haunted Ezra with visions, whispering into his mind, distorting reality, until Ezra nearly killed a fellow rebel, mistaking him for the Phantom of Maul. Eventually, Maul approached Ezra and Kanan during a meeting with the mysterious Bendu. Despite warnings not to look back, they turned, and there stood Maul, watching them from a dune. He claimed to come in peace, asking for Ezra's help in completing the fragmented vision that they had once shared. When Kanan refused, Maul revealed he had planted a home beacon that would alert the Empire should he die. Reluctantly, the Jedi allowed Ezra to accompany Maul to Dathomir, the Night Brothers' haunted home. Hidden among the ruins of the Night Sisters, Maul prepared for one final ritual. Within his cave, relics of his past surrounded them: the dark saber, a shattered portrait of Duchess Satine, echoes of his trauma and ambition. By consuming Night Sister magic, their minds merged. Revealing the truth, Obi-Wan Kenobi lived and was hiding on a world with twin suns. But the magic demanded a price. Spirits of the Night Sisters possessed Kanan and Sabine, who had secretly followed them. Maul fought a possessed Kanan while Ezra dodged Sabine's attacks. They escaped the cave's influence just in time. At the entrance, Maul extended the final offer to join him, to share destiny on the worlds of twin suns. But Ezra, choosing friendship over power, refused. Maul, disheartened, but undeterred, vanished into the shadows to seek out his ancient nemesis, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul's final journey brought him to Tatooine. Guided by the twin suns revealed in the holocron vision, he wandered the desert wastes searching for Kenobi. Weeks passed. He grew desperate, lost. Collapsing into the sand, he cried out into the void for the man who once ended his life. But despair did not claim him yet. Realizing he could not find Kenobi alone, Maul planted a piece of the holocron as bait, knowing Ezra Bridger would come, and he did. Ezra determined to stop Maul and recruit Kenobi to the rebellion. Falling into his trap, attacked by Tusken raiders and stranded in the desert, Ezra passed out, only to awaken at a campfire tended by Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. Kenobi explained the truth. Ezra had been used as a tool to lead Maul to him, and as if summoned by prophecy, Maul arrived in the dark, ready for their final reckoning. Ezra offered to fight, but Kenobi refused. He told the boy to return to his people, to the rebellion, and Ezra obeyed. And then it was just Maul and Kenobi, two ghosts of past wars, with one final breath between them. Maul taunted Kenobi's quiet lifestyle, questioning whether death might be kinder than such a hollow existence. But Kenobi, at peace with his purpose, answered that Maul's obsession, his need to kill, to possess, had left him empty. Maul sensed something deeper. He realized Kenobi was not just hiding, he was protecting a boy, a secret, a new hope. The duel was swift. Maul attacked with a familiar feint, the same move that had slain Qui-Gon Jinn decades earlier. But Kenobi was wise and learned. With a single precise strike, he cleaved Maul's weapon and mortally wounded him. As Maul collapsed, Kenobi caught him, just as Qui-Gon and Duchess Satine had once fallen into his arms. In his final moments, Maul asked one last question. Is he the chosen one? And Kenobi, with quiet certainty, replied, he is. Peace washed over Maul's face, not vengeance, not triumph, but understanding. Misunderstanding. The boy Luke would avenge them both. And with that, Maul passed into the Force. Kenobi gently closed his fallen enemy's eyes and laid him to rest beneath the twin suns. After their final duel beneath Tatooine's twin suns, Kenobi honored his fallen rival with dignity, constructing a funeral pyre and granting Maul the respect of a warrior's passing. It was a quiet, solemn tribute, a reflection not of friendship, but of understanding, of compassion. In death, Maul was at peace, something that had eluded him his entire life. For all his fury, Maul was never truly a Sith, nor fully a master. He was a wound in the Force, a scar left behind by betrayal, loss, and relentless purpose. But in the end, Maul did not die screaming in rage. He died with a whisper, clinging not to conquest, but to prophecy, to hope. The hope that the boy would bring justice, that the chosen one would make the pain mean something. And so, under the quiet gaze of the stars, Maul's war ended, not with thunder, but with silence.